In a quiet Texas town, where life moves slowly and people know each other by name, Jake Miller lived a simple but honest life. Every morning, he arrived early at the small repair shop where he worked, wiping the dust off his tools as if they were treasures. Jake wasn't rich, and he never tried to be. What mattered to him was doing his job right, helping people, and staying true to himself. Even though his boss, Mr. Turner, cared more about money than people, Jake never let that negativity change him. He believed that every vehicle that entered the shop deserved the same attention and respect as the person who owned it. No shortcuts, no excuses, just genuine effort. His co-workers often wondered why he worked so hard when he rarely got appreciation, but Jake simply smiled and said, "Because it's the right thing to do." And that belief guided him every single day. One chilly evening, just as Jake was locking up the shop and getting ready to head home, he heard a faint scraping noise outside. When he stepped out, he saw an elderly woman struggling to push a damaged electric bike. Her hands shook slightly from the cold, and her face carried the weight of exhaustion. Jake didn't hesitate for even a moment. He walked over, gently offered help, and guided her inside the workshop even though the "closed" sign was already hanging on the door. As he examined the bike, he realized it wasn't a quick fix at all. The chain was rusted, the wiring was faulty, and the brakes were worn out. Still, he worked patiently, restoring each part with care, determined to send her back safely. When she tried to pay him, Jake simply smiled and refused, insisting that kindness didn't need a price. And in that small act, fate quietly shifted in his favor. The next morning, Jake walked into the shop with a light heart, still feeling good about the help he had given the old lady. But his smile faded the moment Mr. Turner stormed out of his office, waving a clipboard like it was evidence of a crime. Without even letting Jake speak, he launched into a furious rant, accusing him of using company tools and parts without permission. Jake tried to explain that it was an emergency, that the woman truly needed help, but Turner wasn't interested in kindness or reasons, only in rules and profit. His voice echoed through the workshop as he shouted, "You're fired." The words hit Jake harder than he expected. Years of loyalty, late nights, and honest work, all dismissed in a moment. Jake gathered his toolbox quietly, walked out the door, and took a deep breath. It hurt, but he knew he wouldn't change what he did. Because doing the right thing still mattered. Just before sunrise the next morning, Jake was jolted awake by the deep rumble of engines outside his small wooden house. It wasn't the kind of sound you hear in a quiet neighborhood. Curious and slightly worried, he stepped onto his porch, and froze. Lined up perfectly across his driveway were 7 black SUVs, their windows tinted and engines humming low. One by one, men in dark suits stepped out, moving with a seriousness that made Jake's heart race. For a moment, he wondered if he'd somehow done something wrong, if losing his job wasn't the end of his troubles but the beginning. Then one of the men approached him respectfully and said, "Mr. Jake Miller, someone would like to speak with you." When the rear door of the front SUV opened, Jake's confusion only deepened. Stepping out was the same elderly woman he'd helped, but now she looked powerful, confident, and nothing like the person he remembered. And that moment changed everything. As the woman stepped forward, Jake could hardly believe his eyes. Gone was the tired old lady with shaky hands. Standing before him now was a graceful, confident figure dressed in an elegant white suit. She greeted him with a warm smile and introduced herself as Evelyn Carter, the CEO of Carter Industries, one of the biggest tech companies in the country. Jake almost forgot how to breathe. Evelyn explained that she often traveled in disguise to see how ordinary people treated strangers when they thought no one important was watching. Many ignored her, some even turned her away. But Jake had helped her without hesitation, without expecting a single dollar in return. That sincerity, she said, was rare. Then she handed him an envelope. Inside was a $10,000 bonus and an official job offer. She looked him in the eyes and said, "People like you are the reason good things still happen in this world." And fate finally revealed its purpose. Jake accepted the offer with a mix of excitement and disbelief, and within days, he found himself stepping into the grand headquarters of Carter Industries. Everything felt new: the polished floors, the advanced workshops, the respectful smiles from engineers who treated him like he truly mattered. For the first time in his life, Jake wasn't just another mechanic. He was the head of an entire division, guiding teams, sharing ideas, and being appreciated for his honesty and skill. Evelyn often checked in, not as a boss, but as someone who genuinely valued him. Weeks later, as Jake drove his brand new electric truck down a familiar road, he noticed the old shop where he used to work. Highway Motors now stood nearly empty, a "for sale" sign hanging crookedly outside. Mr. Turner stood there helpless, watching the world move on without him. Jake simply nodded and kept driving, knowing deep inside that kindness had quietly led him home.